Hello everyone, good to have you here again. Hope you're all enjoying your holiday. Please, I would like you to take your studies seriously during this period. Alright, today we're looking at something very interesting on the board. As you can see, informal letter. We will be taking a look on how to write an informal letter. So we're talking about what an informal letter is and how do you tell if a letter is informal or otherwise. Alright, to start with, I would like us to define informal letter together. So you're going to repeat after me as I read. An informal letter is the letter we write to people whom we are familiar with. An informal letter is the letter we write to people whom we are familiar with. Fantastic. Now, why did I say familiar with? This type of letter you write to people whom you know, people whom you have a relationship with. You relate with them in one way or the other. For example, maybe the person is a sibling, maybe your sister or your brother, maybe your cousin, your nephew, your niece, your aunt, your uncle, your mom, your dad, your grandpa, your grandma. Now, this letter written to these people is termed an informal letter. So that's how we take it to mean that an informal letter is the letter we write to people whom we are familiar with. We've done this in class, so I would like you to put more attention so that you can know exactly what I'm trying to say. Alright, an informal letter is also known as a friendly letter. It is a friendly letter. Why is it called a friendly letter? It's called a friendly letter because the people whom you write this letter to, you are friendly with them, you are familiar with them, you have a relationship with them, that is, you're related to them in one way or the other. They may be your friends, your best friend. The letter you write to these people is what we term to be informal letter. Now, when we talk about an informal letter, when you're writing an informal letter, you don't have to select the words you use most times. We can even write and add the slangs to what we're writing. If you're writing to your friend and you both understand the slangs you speak to each other, you are free to make use of those slangs in the letter because it's your friend and your friend knows you. So it's unlike the formal letter where you have to be what? You have to be formal. You have to pick your words because these people you are not familiar with them. And you're writing in respect to the position or authority they are occupying. So that is why it's different from this. In this case, you are free to freestyle your usage of language. You are free to write freely without any interruption. Now let's come further here. Let's look at features of an informal letter. What are the features? What are those things you're expecting to see? What are those things you're likely or you're expected to see, to put in when you're writing an informal letter? These things are what we term them to be features, things that comprises an informal letter. One of these is an informal letter has only one address. An informal letter has only one address. And this address is the address of the writer. It is the address of the writer. If I want to write a letter to my friend, the address that will be on the letter is my address because I am the writer. So the writer's address is the address that is supposed to appear at the top right-hand corner of your booklet. If you are writing a letter to your friend, you are not writing your friend's address, you're writing your own address on the letter. So it is only your address that must appear on the letter. 2. An informal letter has a salutation. An informal letter has a salutation. What do I mean by salutation? There is a pattern of greeting when you're writing an informal letter. If you're writing to your friend, and if, for example, your friend's name is Joy, you say, Dear Joy. If your friend's name is Fred, you say, Dear Friend. If you're writing a letter to your mommy, you say, Dear Mommy. To your daddy, Dear Daddy. Maybe your uncle and your uncle's name is Joe. Dear Uncle Joe. That will be your salutation when you're writing your letter. Now, number 3, an informal letter has an introduction. When you're writing an informal letter, you don't just go straight telling the person what you're writing the letter, what the letter is about. You have to introduce the letter. And how do you introduce your letter? Most times you do this by greeting. When you say, Dear Joy, how are you doing and how is everything with you? Oh, it's really been a long time we chatted. You just have to introduce something. You don't go straight to the point. You must introduce so that the person you're writing to will feel so relaxed to read your letter. The 4th thing here is an informal letter contains the content of the letter. The content, the message you're trying to pass to the person you're writing to is the content. What are you trying to say in your letter? Is your letter talking about vacation? Is your letter talking about invitation to a birthday party? Is your letter talking about invitation to a wedding ceremony? These things are the content, the message you are passing across to whomever you're writing to is the content of the letter. 5th, an informal letter has a conclusion. You must conclude. How do you conclude? It's not the common way of concluding any writing. In this case, you conclude by saying yours sincerely, or you can say yours affectionately, or you can say yours lovely. Then you write a name that your friend knows you with. Take for example, you are John, and you want to conclude your letter. You can say yours affectionately Johnny, or yours affectionately Janelle. Now your friend, you're using Janelle because maybe your friend knows you with the name, or your friend calls you Janelle. So you cannot just say John because your friend might be confused which of the John I know is writing to me. But by the time you say Janelle, your friend already knows it's you because that's what he used to call you. Alright, we are going to take an activity on writing an informal letter. So you're going to pay attention and you do this with me. Now here there is a question that we should write a letter to your daddy. Write a letter to your daddy reminding him about your forthcoming speech and prize ceremony. So now, you ask, how can I go about this now? It's not difficult. Remember, like I told you, there are no language restrictions when it comes to informal letter. We have to flow and flow smoothly. Now, to start with, you must write your own address. I will write my address because I want to attempt writing this letter, which I know you're going to attempt doing so too at your leisure time. Now, to start with, I'll write my address at the top right hand corner of my booklet. I assume this board to be my booklet. So I'm going to use this board as a practical in writing this letter. So now my address. Now when writing your address, make sure you give enough space so that you don't have to cut your address. You give enough space so that your address will flow well for people or whoever is reading your letter to understand what you are writing. And in doing this, we have a particular pattern of writing our address. We can use the block form or we can use the slant form. But in most cases, we use our block form. You make your writing straight so that people or whomever is reading will be able to understand what you are writing. Now let's go. My address. House, H stands for house. House 20, Dangaba Close. Dangaba Close, comma. House 20, Dangaba Close. Dangaba Close, comma. Where is Dangaba Close? For example, I'm just giving an example. House 20 Dangaba Close. We'll say Zone 5. Herbert Macaulay. Herbert Macaulay Avenue. Comma. House 20 Dangaba Close. We'll say Zone 5, Herbert Macaulay Avenue. Now, where is Herbert Macaulay Avenue located? It's located in Abuja. Abuja. Now, you write a date. What's today's date? So you write the date. 27th April, comma, 2020. Full stop. Now, this is my address. This is my address. If you cannot write a straight address, what you do, you use your ruler, you draw a straight line with a pencil, a tiny straight line with a pencil, then you write every letter must start at the beginning of the line, after which you erase the tiny line. Okay, now this letter is addressed to my daddy, so after my date, now comes my salutation. Dear Daddy, comma. Your paragraph must begin after your dear. Paragraph must begin after your dear. Now let's go. Dear Daddy, how are you doing today? It's a month now that we heard from you. I know you've been busy with work. I hope all is well with you, Daddy. Now, this is my introduction. Now, I want to go to the content of my letter. I will start. The second paragraph will go with the content of my letter. You write, Daddy, I am writing this letter. I am writing this letter to inform you about my forthcoming speech and prize ceremony. Daddy, I am asked to pay the sum of 5,000 naira so that I will be able to participate in this event. I hope you receive this letter on time, as the time for payment is almost elapsing. So you go. Thank you, Daddy. For being my all. I hope to hear from you soon. I love you. So now, when you finish, remember that this is one paragraph, another paragraph, a third paragraph. Now you're going to conclude. How do you conclude? Yours sincerely, Jane. Because Jane is the person writing to Daddy. So you go, yours. Let's just end it here. Yours. You write it this way. Yours sincerely. Yours sincerely. Then Jane. Because Jane is a person that is writing the letter. So when Daddy reads this letter, Daddy knows the child that actually wrote the letter to him. So it's Jane. So these are how you go about when you're writing an informal letter. In our next class, we'll still be doing more exercises on writing an informal letter. because I want you to be perfect in writing an informal letter, because this is the simplest of all letter writing. Thank you.